When I began working as a clinical research psychologist, I believed that people turned to crime largely because of factors outside of themselves. I regarded criminals mainly as victims. Working with my mentor, Dr. Yokelson, we eventually found this view to be completely in error. We became increasingly skeptical of self-serving stories in which criminals justified what they did by casting blame on others. As we challenged their accounts and interviewed those who knew them well, they became more forthcoming. We modified some ideas, discarded others completely, and discovered new topics for investigation. The evidence that we accumulated by spending thousands of hours interviewing criminals from a variety of backgrounds compelled us to take our sacred theoretical cows to pasture and slaughter them. We called ourselves the reluctant converts because we were so hesitant to abandon our theories, beliefs, and what we had learned in our professional training about why people turn to crime. Once we ceased perceiving the criminal as a victim, a new vista opened. Unfettered by why questions, we turned to developing an understanding of how criminals think. We took a scratch-on-the-table approach. You do not have to know why a table is scratched. Rather than be concerned about how it was damaged, you need to examine the table to determine what it is made of and assess its condition in order to determine whether it is restorable. How does a criminal make decisions? What are his expectations of himself and of other people? How is it that he can pray in church at 10 o'clock, but 2 hours later terrorize a homeowner during a break and entry? Behavior is a product of thinking. By focusing on thinking patterns rather than causes, we eventually laid the foundation for a method to help offenders change their thinking and behavior. The search for the causes of crime is unending and is somewhat comparable to scientists' efforts to understand the causes of cancer. We think that if we discover the cause of what baffles and terrifies us, whatever the scourge is, it can be eliminated. Unlike with cancer, there should be no expectation that even if we succeed in identifying the root causes of criminality, we will discover a cure. Rather than generate successful strategies to confront and combat crime, the preoccupation with a search for causes has served as a distraction from understanding who the criminal is. A view that has persisted for more than a century is that criminals are victims of sociological, psychological, or biological factors over which they have little or perhaps no control. Some sociologists maintain that crime is an understandable, adaptive, and even normal response to conditions of grueling poverty that deprive people of opportunity and hope. They also cite the stressful, competitive life in the suburbs as contributory. Some attribute criminality to misplaced values in society that alienate citizens from communities, the workplace, and the government. Psychologists emphasize the role of early experience in the family and point to parental deficiencies as causative of criminal conduct. In the 19th century, the theory was advanced that criminals were born constitutionally inferior. Now, in the 21st century, scientists are returning to that idea as research findings point to a biological basis for criminal conduct. In the 1957 musical West Side Story, Stephen Sondheim parodied what was then current thinking about causes of juvenile delinquency in the song Gee Officer Krupke. In that song, delinquents were misunderstood rather than no good. They suffered from a social disease, and society had played them a terrible trick. These lyrics were expressive of a view that their criminality was symptomatic of deep-seated psychopathology or socioeconomic deprivation. In a 1964 article, the noted psychologist O. Hobart Maurer questioned whether psychoanalysis actually encourages sociopathy, now officially called antisocial personality disorder, by providing more justifications for crimes. He addressed this issue in a psychiatric folk song. At 3 I had a feeling of ambivalence toward my brothers, and so it follows naturally I poisoned all my lovers. And now I'm happy I have learned the lesson this has taught, that everything I do that's wrong is someone else's fault.